I'd like to acknowledge Mateo, who's a business events blogger in the Bay Area, who's been aptly covering our events. Thank you very much for coming. Oh yes, and of course Mr. Colette.
My name is John Collette. I'm an engineer.
He's a big businessman himself. We're trying to bring his business to the Philippines too. And
I'm Barrios. I'm the treasurer of the San Francisco-Manila Sister City Committee.
He's the most important. He has the money.
And I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues at the Philippine Trade and Investment Center, Mylene and Rosalie. So the background of the Sister Cities business mission component as an advanced visit prior to the mayor's big visit in February is to really put together a group of substantive business matches between the Philippines and the Bay Area, represented of course by Manila, which is the capital of the greater Metro Manila, and in a bigger sense the Philippines itself, and of course San Francisco, which is a recognized business capital of the Bay Area and California and the West Coast. So I think this is very important because I'm representing the Department of Trade and Industry, the equivalent of the Department of Commerce in the Philippines. And the Secretary was recently just here and met with Mrs. Colette and assured her that we would give 105% support behind this. So what we're trying to do is, well, this is a first of many, or several executive briefings. And I've already started the groundwork. I've listed down some sectors that we're going to tackle. These are, well, the screen diagrams there. Well, you can't see it anyway, so please go to about the business mission. We're going to cover sectors like infrastructure development and the Philippine Public-Private Partnership Program, which I'm going to talk about later in more slides. IT and business support services, which has really grown into a very big sector for us. It's contributed to about almost $15 billion in last year's GDP. Creatives and design. The Filipinos are very creative, people, very talented. We do a lot of animation, design, music, what have you, even architectural design is represented by our architects here. Green technologies and renewable energy, some of you, Francis, and we have actually signed up several solar power companies and renewable power companies that will be joining us for this mission because they are going to explore or try to expand what they already have with the Philippines. Entrepreneurship and development of tech startups. Well, first of all, we have Science and Technology Advisory Council, one of our strongest partners. We've been running on a 4-year program now that tries to develop Philippine entrepreneurs and bring them here to Silicon Valley, bring them to market, and try to get them funded. The other, of course, is government procurement, and we are going to make this opportunity available to those that are interested and who are joining the mission, and internationally funded projects, because, well, as you know, Metro Manila is headquarters to several very important regional and international organizations like the Asian Development Bank, the World Health Organization, for example. And merchandise and trade exports. If you want to sell to the Philippines, Mr. Malcolm here, or would like to expand in the Philippines to take advantage of the Philippines is 100 million population, and it belongs to the ASEAN, which is now moving to a single market economy. It's a 600 million population regional group, which is as big as the EU. This is a high time to review it, to review opportunities in the Philippines. So after this executive briefing, we'll be going to more specific groups and that we are targeting. For example, we have one huge multinational that is joining us. They have already expressed their strong support. We will back the Sister Cities business mission and the main mission itself. And we are going to get more along these sectors. Of course, I failed to write down, but a big component of our mission will be to focus also on tourism investments. The Philippines has seen its tourism industry growing in strides. It's catching up now with our neighbors. Before we were lagging behind. We were Asia's best kept secret, but not so much anymore. So we're going to make that available. So aside from government opportunities in tourism development, we were also going to organize a business matching session with our biggest property developers and tourism and resorts developers. So on the next page, which is the meeting with top government officials, so we will be able to meet with the mayor of the newly elected mayor of Manila and past president Joseph Estrada in City Hall, because this is a sister city mission after all. And we heard that he's a very, he could give a very warm welcome to all of you. My boss, the Secretary of Trade, Gregory Domingo, who was here recently, will also have the chance to meet with those companies that are joining us, and the Director General of our Economic Zones Authority, among others. Then if you flip to the next page, these are key chambers of commerce. These main groups represent the Philippines' big business. So the first one is the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We will have a working session with them. Hopefully they will host us in a reception or a dinner. And they're also going to host a business forum, a plenary business forum. And the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry is actually the umbrella organization of all chambers of commerce in the Philippines, and they really represent all sectors of business. The next one is the American Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, which has had its inception in 1902. The American Chamber of Commerce, of course, the U.S. being one of its oldest business partners, is one of the most formidable groups, and they represent big business from multinationals from the U.S. and throughout, even to startups that are formed by Americans in the Philippines. The third group is the Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce, which represents a huge chunk of Philippine business. So combined, all these three big chambers will provide a unique and very important opportunity to network with businessmen that are involved in those sectors. If your business is in a sector that was not mentioned, I did not intend that, but if you are coming along with the business mission, because we are organizing the itinerary, we are going to provide an itinerary that will suit also that particular additional sector. So also we will be meeting with a major industry associations. So two of our biggest industries are the electronics industry, and that's a perfect match for Silicon Valley and the San Francisco Bay Area. Lisa's family is also involved now heavily in electronics manufacturing, and we want to replicate that with more businesses. So I think our electronics and semiconductors industry represents about $25 billion now, and that's about 40 to 45% of all our merchandise exports. And that's why we think this is a huge segment of our delegation. I recently also had the opportunity to meet with the Semiconductors Industry Association, and some of their members have already expressed interest to join. The second is the IT and Business Process Association, which provides support to U.S. companies, creating more values here by providing support services in the Philippines. So there's a lot of opportunity there. A lot of the U.S. companies actually are members of ETAP. And then the next segment will be the international organizations. So I've just put two for now, but there's a lot of international organizations there that manage and fund projects all throughout Asia, not just the Philippines. So for example, Asia Development Bank is a very formidable version of the World Bank and IMF in the Asian region, and its headquarters are in the Philippines. So, and then of course USAID which also funds and manages projects for development in the Philippines and in the region. And then, of course, the government agencies, the DTI, the Department of Trade and Industry, and the Board of Investments, the Public-Private Partnership Center, PPP Center of the Philippines, which I'm going to discuss as a sector that I'm highlighting today because of its importance in our economy and the opportunities that they present. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority, for those companies that want or are looking at establishing in the Philippines, there are incentives that the government gives, and these are very competitive throughout Asia. So you have tax incentives for 4 to 6 years, and every new expansion or addition is always entitled, no matter when you expand. And also the Philippine International Trading Corporation, which is an adjunct of the Department of Trade and Industry, is a Philippine state trading firm. If you want to buy or sell to the Philippines in bulk, these are the guys to talk to. I'm going to just touch a little bit on a highlight on the Public-Private Partnership Program of the Philippines, which really is nation building across all its forms. It's not anymore just roads and bridges and networks. It also involves airport and ports, education, medicines for the masses, and even textbooks for school children. So when the president came into the office about 3 years ago, they renamed the already existing Build, Operate, Transfer program into the Public-Private Partnership Program and expanded its reach. It has now since raised about almost $22 billion of funds, of counterpart funds between the private sector from abroad and from the Philippines itself and the government. So these are the activities that we are building under the PPP program. A lot of these projects involve what each and every one of you have described. These undergo very rigid bidding processes that are also open to the public, and they're very transparent. The government of President Aquino has assured transparency, and I think this is a good example of what that can do. So what happens is when there is a big project, huge companies come and they bid for that, but there still are opportunities after those are bidded out and won, because you could be subcontractors or sub-providers. And because we are not very heavy in IP and technology, we rely on countries like the United States and countries in Europe to give us the expertise and technology that we really need here. So we are now in a very unique position where before we just wanted to sell our goods, we just wanted to sell our agriculture. Now we are buyers of expensive technology and expertise. So I think the San Francisco Bay Area is a very rich area to source these expertise from. And of course, because of all of that activity, we also need a lot of banking and financial experts to help us make that happen. So this is the pie chart of these projects. Recent projects. And these are, well, I could give more details about each of them, but we have a PPP brochure that we could give out. Water and power, road network. Education sector, for example, we use school buildings and textbooks, and immunization for students. Health sector projects, vaccine and self-sufficiency programs. So if you talk about doing that in a country with 100 million population, that's substantial business. That's enough for people from all other countries to look at. And I think I'm featuring this sector now because of these five checklists: good governance, sound fiscal management, which has actually been seen and approved by international financial critics. legal and regulatory frameworks and infrastructure funds are increasingly available and bigger projects. Also, my office is working closely with JR's company, One Virtual Source, to launch the Philippine Services Delivery Platform. We are trying to come up with a online global marketplace where we will aggregate all Philippine services and offer them here and make it easier for US companies to tap them. So we'll be able to talk about that more. We'll give you more invitations about that. I have in your kits a tentative business mission, which is very fluid. As I've said, we will be able to design this as we know the more concrete list of companies that will join. So if there are sectors that will have low attendance or no attendance, we will scrap that or relegate that and add the sectors that are more important in terms of the attendees. And also, there's a tour of economic zones. There's a tour of the central business districts of Makati and Fort Bonifacio, and opportunities towards the weekend for you to opt for a holiday in the Philippines since you're there already. And my colleague, Rene de los Santos, will be able to help us. So thank you very much. We'll now open the floor for questions.
Mike, those projects that you mentioned, are they mostly BOT projects or?
Yes, but it's now under the PPP. We don't have the BOT anymore.
Oh.
So some PPP projects are strictly a government project, identified project, and then it's opened up for private sector participation. So there's a government counterpart fund that has to be raised by the private sector fund. But this is also covering more flexible activities now, wherein private companies can offer unsolicited proposals and have the tag as a PPP project. So if you have a huge project you're looking at in the Philippines and you would like the PPP Center to identify that as a PPP program, there is a process.
You have listed infrastructure development, first item is, knowing the situation in Philippines now with floods that happen almost every other month. What is the Philippine government doing? Is there a PPP that address that now? Because to me, it seems like the priority in terms of projects that you want to go on a PPP. So, is there anything?
There is a list of drainage improvement projects that are in the pipeline. I could give you an entire list of them. Those that I know include the connectors between the South Luzon Expressway and the North Luzon Expressway that would lessen the traffic within Manila, because they don't have to pass through Manila, Greater Metro Manila itself, just to go from the south to the north. There's obviously, it's very difficult to solve problems for a city that's quite older, the capital in Asia that's quite older than, in terms of, well, in the modern sense, older than its neighbors. What I've seen every time the president gives his State of the Nation, he always has a segment on the infrastructure development. Ones that you have seen recently are, well, if you go out of Metro Manila, the coastal, the marine highways. So it's now possible to drive from the northern tip most of the country to the southern tip most by using the marine highway. So this involves ferries and roll-off connections. But it's now possible to actually bring your car from the north and just arrive from the north to the south in, 3 days.
Whenever when I was there in early PPP or the airport of Cebu was advertised. And that's an opportunity that because of my experience at SFIA, I'd be able to be considered by any of the big firms. So I approached the Anguilla group, the Morocco. It's very hard to get in. You know, it's like when they think they can do it on their own. So it's something that I don't know how to approach it. It's like, do I have to bring the money or do I? That's why anything coming from here, you always have to bring your money with the project, otherwise it cannot be done. I don't know, right or wrong.
So we are offering an opportunity to introduce you to decision makers of these huge conglomerates in the Philippines. As I've said, all the public-private partnership projects are normally bidded by competition from among the huge conglomerates. So you have the Ayalas and the Henry C's and the others. But there is an opportunity to be a sub-provider under each of those projects when they're already awarded. It might be very difficult to bid for a project itself under the PPP because it involves billions. What I know is the practice of our private sector conglomerate is they also hire from here. They usually hire RTKL or SOM for in terms of, but I'm pretty sure that if you could network, we could maybe introduce you to the right people because of the Department of Trade.
I think that would be a challenge for distribution as far as being linked up.
Yes, indeed, because of course these huge conglomerates also have their criteria on who they want to deal with, the track record, the name sometimes helps too. So maybe the best approach is to find your niche, specialize there, and just target them.
In my case, I've worked with, in the Philippines, I've worked with SOM. I had an associate or an affiliate with SOM and we did some projects with AL. But you have to bring names with you.
Yes.
I've worked with RTKL also, bringing them the two. But I guess that's the process.
It's a process, and it's a private sector process that even us in government don't have a control of. But so the best that we can do is help you get in touch with the right people. And then of course it's up to you to do your network and do the business. Yes, Mr. Bob.
Can you give some brief overview of furniture design sector? How much it's growing? Is it primarily an export market or domestic consumption?
Okay, I don't have the exact figures now, but the furniture industry has really shrunk. We were affected by a lot of factors. Much of it is global. So the furniture industry now is not as big as it was before. We were leading during the times of the Rattan. I think we had a boom in the furniture industry. The furniture industry now has shifted and found its niche. So what we have is actually high-end furniture targeting high-end markets. So sometimes some companies get as much revenue as they did before for lower volume. So you find people like Kenneth Cabonpue selling $30,000 couches as opposed to 5 container vans full of rattan furniture from before. We're still trying to grow that. Our furniture designers are among the best in the world. Vietnam and other countries have been recruiting Philippine designers because they want to grow their own. But we've also seen a lot of them coming back. Every year we have 2 shows, international shows called the Manila Fame, which is, I think you have a brochure. And I think I've been seeing about 15 to 20% growth every time in terms of exports. So a lot of the business really went to China, and I think it's true for everyone else, even for European companies. But we're getting back and we're getting them sure.
But the designs, if you go to this guy in Manila, I was fortunate to be able to go there early this year, the first one. The designs are really excellent. There's a lot of Filipino talented designers, furniture, and interior. It's amazing how they harness the resources that are available to them. And they're also into the green stuff. They use a lot of patterns and designs and materials that are really recycled. And I thought, so I'm very proud of that. But you will enjoy if you go to this meeting.
So,
But he's right. That's wrong.
so we're trying to grow it, but grow it the right way. If our niche is in the higher end market, we will grow it there. We cannot compete in terms of cost of production with our other neighbors, simply because their costs are really low. But I think we have strength in the high quality and high end. You find Philippine furniture in Beverly Hills houses and New York houses. The houses here. So. Okay, so I think if there are no more questions, we will be available for more questions via email or give me a phone call. I know that I owe some of you or all of you meetings, but yes, we will try to make the most of this for each and everyone. As I've said, we have the unique opportunity to really design the itinerary based on who are coming. We have the backing of the Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Department of Tourism.
I'm also a member of the UAP here in California. How can UAP as a group be more involved in this? Because this is my first time to attend this meeting.
Because you are, well, the United Architects of the Philippines, I would imagine that you have operations in the Philippines, but you also have your own private practices here. I think that's a unique situation. What I can do is help you grow your Philippine operations, and in the same way your private practices here by giving you more market. So, in terms of growing, we can either grow you in terms of the supply of talents from the Philippines and also the markets here. One again is the project that we have with One Virtual Source, where Philippine-based architectural firms or architectural support services or 3D or AutoCADing can just enlist their menu of services in this platform. It's really like eBay. It's just that we don't sell goods. It's going to be services that's going to be sold. And if this will click, I think that we will, and this is being started here in the Bay Area. There are two models, business models, eLands and Odesk, and together they dominate 75% of a $2 billion freelance market. What we're trying to do is a hybrid. We're trying to offer freelance, but also small, medium, established businesses to provide services. So it's going to be, if you're looking for a team, if, for example, you're an entrepreneur here, you're an American company, you're not even Filipino, you're a team of 5 people, but you want to bid for bigger projects that you otherwise could not bid for, then you take a look at what's in offer in the platform and say, hey, that team might be able to be a good, to provide the services that I require and the expertise I require. So you now have virtually a team of 50 behind you, and you can now maybe just one of the qualifications bid for that project simply because you have a manpower base that's bigger than what you otherwise would be able to do. And this platform will be very very user-friendly. We are setting up a payment portal with it and a project management system that will eliminate a lot of headaches, not all. And also an arbitration system if things don't work. You pre-agree that you'll be subject to an arbitration system that would just decide who's correct. So these are all built into the system, and I think that would really make business easier. The two business models that I mentioned before, ELANs and Odesk, we've looked at their statistics, and the Philippine users are really below, like in the low tens of the users. A lot of the users are from India. And given that the Philippines now is a very well-known provider of high-quality outsourced work, in terms of new work, not work that's from here, but work that creates value, we could just actually capitalize on that and have that.
My question, you have the list, you might have updated the United States Agency of International Development. Now, how do you see this, like what we're talking about now, how do you think this would be able to be beneficial, meeting with them, beneficial for any comes to this businessman? I'm thinking more of USAID would send grants to the Philippines for, let's say, a power plant. If that was coming from Japan, Japan would require them to use Japanese firms. I'm thinking for USAID, there's probably a lot of projects in the Philippines that they thought probably.
Yeah, and because
Of
you're
course,
also...
they already designed, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, when they start constructing the Philippines, they should bring someone either from here or from the Philippines.
And that's exactly the point, why they're there. You are also, most of you are Americans, and I think a big qualification of their, or a big part of their requirements would be to deal with the U.S. Provider, and that's exactly why they're there. They do anything and everything. I think the Philippine offices not only handles the Philippines, but also other areas in Asia. And it's a lot to do with infrastructure development as well, trade-related infrastructure development.
I have a question, Nicole. So if someone's interested in the trip, do you collect our emails, or we contact you and then you give us a rate of, how much it would cost?
Yes, so Tita Carmen, who's here, let's corner her now. She'll talk about the rates, and I think they were able to put together